Yo, what's up? This is Yo, what's up? This is Oh my god. Oh my god. Is it done? Did we get all of them? Can I finally make a video now? Yo, what's up? This is Eldritch Terror, and us here in the Halloween Horror Nights community have been blessed last week. Man, we got all 6 of the original house announcements back to back, man. It's kind of unprecedented. I've never seen them do something like this before. There's widespread speculation that the reason could be the big loss of some major IPs, and if that's true, it may have confirmed my theory from the last video. We're gonna be talking about all of the original houses. We're gonna be doing some speculation, going through backstory, talking about lore. A couple of these are new versions of things we've seen before, so we'll be talking about that as well. And we'll also throw in some IP speculation at the end, just to spice things up. Because if you know anything about my channel, you know that I do some deep diving to find the extra little tidbits that nobody else is talking about. And today's gonna be no different than any other day in that aspect. So let's go in the order in which they were announced, starting with Slaughter Sinema 2. If you're dying for a B-movie horror marathon, head to the Cary Drive-In. Scream through scenes of creature features, grindhouse gore, spaghetti westerns, and more. Now, if I had to bet my money on it, I'd assume that this house is going to be very similar to the last Slaughter Sinema. In that one, everything from the line to the back of the house made you feel like you were in the grittiest B-movies that could be stripped from mainstream audiences. I loved this house so much. The line to get in featured a big screen outside, where they played trailers for all of the scenes that you'd see inside. There was a lot of really creative ones in there. Each individual room was based on its own little movie, and they all had their cool little niches. There was a werewolf biker bar, a science lab that had been overtaken by these little furry guys, and I loved that room a lot because me personally, I'm a sucker for giant animatronics and puppets. This room had a really big version of the little furry guys at the end of it. The Schnitzel Kids was funny. There was a room where a bunch of sorority girls were sacrificing a virgin nerd, and at the back of the house we were greeted by the Swamp Yeti. I don't know what it is about HHN and like giant predatorial animals, but the HHN bear is always so beloved, and I think that the Yeti tapped into a piece of that, because we didn't just get one house based off of this scene, but 2, and both of them were fucking awesome. So I'm really excited to see what they put into this one, and what full houses we could get from that. Their panel at Spooky Empire even previewed our first look at what one of these scare actors will look like, and we got this dope heavy metal skeleton guy that's going to be featured in a room for a movie titled Heavy Metal Hell 3D, and I don't think that the whole house is going to be 3D based. Maybe if they do a 3rd iteration, they could do that, because that would be pretty funny, but I can guarantee that this is going to be at the top of a lot of people's lists. Our second house announcement was for Goblins Feast. Welcome to the Goblins Feast Tavern and visit the Goblin Village, where a lavish feast is being prepared for goblins, orcs, hobgoblins, and witches, and you are the main course. Now I know that this one sounds a little weird, but we did just get the Dueling Dragons house, and I imagine that this will be on the same kind of vibe. Dark fantasy and horror go way back, man. That's where we get some of our earliest iterations of the Universal monsters anyway, so I'm really excited to see what they might be able to do with this. We could have some insane looking creatures walking around in there, and it could even grant them the opportunity to have some big puppets. Whatever it contains, I know that it's going to be gory and full of big monsters feasting on human flesh. But believe it or not, this isn't the most strange announcement that we've gotten so far, so let's keep it going. Our next one is the highly anticipated Major Sweets Candy Factory. You've been invited to chaperone a field trip to a candy factory, but this sweet tour is about to turn sour when free samples transform kids into candy-coated killers wielding sharpened candies. Major Sweets was a scare zone in HHN 31, and it was my absolute favorite scare zone that year. Every night walking through the streets, it just made me feel like it was Halloween night. It was so perfect. I loved the floats. I absolutely loved the lights. I loved the vintage Halloween costumes, and the all-around vibe that it gave was just perfect for that year's event. So if there's been any recent scare zone that I think deserves a full house, it's this one. I'm really excited for the Candy Factory. A lot of people are making references to Willy Wonka. I think that some of the elements that we saw in Killer Clowns could also be cool to draw inspiration from. The possibilities are endless with this one, for real, and I can't wait to smell what kind of sweet aromas they're going to be pumping into that house. Hopefully they don't play a foul trick on us and put like a bathroom scene in there, plaguing the location for another 3 years. Bathroom scene in The Exorcist was pretty gnarly last year, I'll tell you. But moving on, the museum, Deadly Exhibits. You're going to check out the Rotting Stone, the local folklore museum's infamous new exhibit. An evil spirit escapes from within, possessing the other displays and decaying everything in its path. The Rotting Stone, huh? There's a lot of things that this house could be. From this description, it kind of gives me the vibe that it's going to be like a evil rock and roll Hall of Fame. When I think of the name Museum Deadly Exhibits, it invokes thoughts of possibly like a murder museum, maybe a monster museum, maybe even like an Icon Hall of Fame similar to what we got in 30, but from this description I really think it might be music focused. We'll have to see as details unfold just exactly what this Rotting Stone could be. It could even be like some kind of a Stonehenge reference or something, I'm not sure. But your guess is as good as mine, so let me know in the comments. Monstros, the monsters of Latin America. I'm not going to butcher the hell out of this description, so we're just going to talk about it. The house's description promises that a tour guide is going to be taking us on a trip of Latin America, and that we'll be greeted face to face by 3 legendary monsters of folklore from the area. A blood-sucking monster, an owl-faced witch, and a bone-ripping creature of the night. This is a house that they had last year in Hollywood, and now we'll be getting a shot at it on the East Coast. I'm very excited about this house. I know a lot of people didn't really like Chupacabra too much a few years ago, but I personally really loved that house, and I thought that the things that they did with it were so cool. The way that it made you feel like you're walking through a village while some kind of a festival celebration was going on, they really nailed that down, and I thought that the puppets that they had in there were pretty scary. I'm really excited to see them elaborating on that kind of a concept, and drawing from all the cool cultural folklore that they can get around the world. There's a lot of room for really big puppets and awesome set pieces in this house. And I wouldn't be surprised if we come out the end of the year thinking that this was our favorite house. It's just dripping with potential. Hollywood's version is really cool, and I can't wait to see what Orlando does with this. But on to our last one, the one that's been giving the community the most pause recently. Triplets of Terror. You're invited to the Barmy Triplets birthday bash, but beware, they celebrate by recreating their family's murders. Prepare for a gory gathering. There's a lot being said about this house, all the way from this goofy promo photo they threw up that appears to be made by AI or something, to the obvious parallels that we're getting to the Strangers in Five Nights at Freddy's. Many are speculating that we could have either have been getting a Strangers or Five Nights at Freddy's house, and that when things fell through, they quickly recycled what they had built into whatever this is. But if there's one thing that I can speculate about this house, it's that it will be very, very, very gory. There's no way that they don't just dump buckets of blood all over everything in this house. If you remember Hellblock Horror, one of the things that they said was that they went through the house when it was all set up, and they decided that the one thing that it needed was just blood spilled all over everything. The walls, the floors, the set pieces. It needed more blood. And I have a feeling that this one's going to be treated the same. These 3 humanoid creatures will be stalking our every movement as we walk through this house, and I'm sure that the carnage will be rememberable. But now that we've talked about everything that's been announced, let's talk about speculation. So is anybody else getting the kind of vibe that all of these houses kind of feel like B-movies in their own right? There's been a lot of talk about possible icons this year, and while the 2 in the Slaughter Sinema definitely makes me think about Chance, I've been seeing some very interesting theories online lately that the perfect icon to tie all these things together would probably come in the form of the director or the usher. But very interestingly, I've been seeing some posts and comments on Reddit forums saying that if we do get an icon this year, it'll be more in the lines of Fear. If you don't know about the icon Fear, he was our icon at Halloween Horror Nights 20. And his whole thing was that he created all of the other icons. He was a physical manifestation of fear itself. We haven't seen him come back in recent years, especially considering how likely it would have been to have seen him at 30. But what I've been told is that he's kind of like a super icon, if we were to take all the icons and classify them. And with that being said, I heard that if we get one this year, it's going to be like a super duper icon. So I hope we can find out whatever the hell that means, and that that person wasn't just talking through their teeth. My first year attending Horror Nights was the year that the usher was our icon. And I don't know about you guys, when I walked through those arches for the first time in my life, I remember all of the cool things that they had set up there, making it feel like a ticket booth and an entrance into a movie theater. The theming was so on point, and I would love to see something like that make a return. The arches at Horror Nights are always so beautiful, but the medallion they've been using the past few years has gotten a little tired to me, and I kind of miss those cool shenanigans they used to pull at the front. It'd be very nostalgic and sentimental to me to see the usher come back, but the director is also an insanely cool icon that I would love to see take over an event for a year. But what do you think? The 2 in Slaughter Sinema 2 still kind of looks like that 2 in the 26 from Chance's year. There's a lot of speculation going around when it comes to icons, that's for sure. But let's touch on IPs before we get out of here today. It's been very heavily speculated that Nightmare on Elm Street and Five Nights at Freddy's were once planned for the event, but both got pulled. I've seen some people online speculating that they believe that neither were actually meant for the event this year, and that we haven't gotten any IPs pulled, but that rather we haven't hit the nails on the head thinking of what they could be. I think it's kind of a given that we're getting Ghostbusters Frozen Empire this year, and I'm not personally super excited about that. I know a lot of people aren't either. Having the original Ghostbusters at the event was a very, very welcome addition that year. It was a really cool house for a fantastic classic movie, and the nostalgia factor was through the roof, allowing everybody to walk through a classic like that. But I just don't feel that this new Ghostbusters movie is going to have the same effect. It'll probably be very cool. They'll probably pull some very cool tricks on us throughout it, because anytime Horror Nights gets their hands on ghosts, they get the opportunity to do some really cool things. But this property really just doesn't scream Horror Nights to me. I want to be scared senseless when I'm walking through these haunted houses, and I feel like this one's just going to be very PG-13. Another widely speculated house coming this year is A Quiet Place. Now this is one that I've been seeing people on the inside saying that we are getting wrong, and when I think about it, That kind of makes sense. Because the whole thing about The Quiet Place is that the movie is silent. That would be such a hard feat to pull off in a haunted house. Besides not having a single thing in a room making a noise and how boring that could be, you gotta think about how they would immerse the guests into making you feel like you also need to be quiet. And that immersion's gonna be immediately broken when you hear people screaming from the next room over. And I'm not saying that it's completely out of the question. They could still do it, and they could still do it well. I'm just saying it sounds like a tough feat. But this icon on the spec map is what we're really thinking about here. And I've seen some speculation going ever since we got that first teaser that wasn't really an announcement, that it's possible, okay, hear me out, it's possible that we could be getting a Silent Hill house. I personally would absolutely love this, and I think that this would be a big hit for the event. It's not the biggest horror gaming property, but it's one of them for sure. And I think that any casual person that doesn't know anything about the video game that would walk through this house would be scared to death of the things that they would see in there. There's so many cool things that you can draw from in Silent Hill, and I know it's been done at Horror Nights events before, so I definitely wouldn't rule it completely out of the equation. We'll see though, that's definitely my wishful thinking. It's definitely safe to say that we're going to be getting a Universal Monsters house this year. We've been getting them every year for the past few, and they've all been amazing. A lot of people are saying that based on what we got on the spec map, it's believed that this one's going to be centered around female monsters, kind of like the Bride of Frankenstein versus the Brides of Dracula that we got a few years ago. I'm definitely all in on this one. The monsters never miss, and there's so much endless potential to be drawn from here. That's going to wrap it for our video today. Thank you so much for watching. If you got a friend that you think would enjoy this video, be sure to send it their way, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more. Let me know down below what you think might be coming to this event. Are you on the train with what's widely speculated with these maps, or do you believe that we could possibly be having something going right over our heads? I've been seeing a lot of people surprised that we're only getting 4 IPs this year and 6 originals, but I don't think that those people realize that we did that same thing for 30 and 31. All we need are 6 awesome original houses, 3 anchor point IPs that'll draw in general audiences to the event, and 1 banger Universal Monsters house to make an amazing year at Halloween Horror Nights. I don't know about you guys, but I'm excited.